Kevin Porter Jr. is better than LeBron at scoring at least 50 points and 10 assists age-wise. KPJ went off last week against the Bucks, dropping 50 and 11. People said he was the next James Harden. Well, he could literally be on Harden's old team. So, why did his old team trade him for nothing? Why is he so underrated by the NBA? Maturity issues. You've heard the stories. He's had them since college, and it's why KPJ dropped from a lottery pick to last in the first round. But actually, that is nothing compared to the adversity he faced as a kid. Look, I don't feel bad for Porter because you get one chance to be a victim. After that, your bad behavior is on you. This video explains what happened and how much talent could be wasted if he continues to mess up. Yo, it's KC. Welcome to another Feature Friday. Hit subscribe if you like this video. Come back every Friday for stories like this. We have two member shoutouts. One is to Nessie Quickie, and the other one is to Aaron Tinajero. Kevin Porter Jr. is from South Seattle, which is a rough neighborhood. His mentor, Keenan Oliver, said, quote, "Here, if you don't play basketball, you're gangbanging because you need that protection." Well, Kevin didn't have a choice. His dad was obsessed with ball. Kevin Porter Sr. was a standout in high school, and he put a ball in Junior's hands early on. At the same time, his dad was a part of that neighborhood's dark side. That harsh reality hit home when Kevin Porter Sr. was shot 5 times and died when his son was just 4 years old.
It was real hard for me to have to go and tell my 3 kids that their dad's not coming home. The oldest ones kind of knew what happened. Kevin, he didn't really know. I didn't even let him go to the funeral. I wanted him to remember his dad the way he remembered his dad.
I don't remember much, but I know he was shot multiple times, and that was basically the end of that. So.
Kevin now wears number 4 in the league to remember how young he was when his dad was murdered. He says growing up without a dad was tough, but basketball saved him. KPJ followed his dad's footsteps at Rainier Beach High School. And to humble him, the coach there, who also coached his dad, started Kevin on JV, but he was a varsity starter by the end of his freshman year. Porter's talent was obvious. He became a 5-star recruit and chose USC for school. At one point, Kevin Porter Jr. was right up there with Zion Williamson in the 2019 NBA draft, but just as fast, the game was almost taken away. After a thigh injury, Kevin was suspended by USC for an undisclosed conduct issue.
Toughest 2 months of my life, probably. Everything was just crashing for me. Got in a depressed stage. I didn't know what to do. Basketball was an exit to everything. Now I react to things so much differently. And I know it's way easier to channel my emotions and control what I can control.
And that right there is the definition of talk is cheap, because those maturity issues followed him ever since. They were a big reason why he fell to the end of the first round, and he had a lot of serious issues on the Cavaliers. The first big one was a suicidal Instagram post where he just put a black screen with a caption that said, "You ever wish to see the end of your time?" People reached out on the comments, and the team was really concerned. But just a few weeks later, he was arrested on firearm charges. The official statement said, quote, "Improperly handling a firearm in a motor vehicle." Look, I'm not a psychologist, but someone who had a really dark IG post should not be playing with a gun in a car with weed, which is illegal in Ohio. 2 days later, he was accused of punching a woman in downtown Cleveland. So no one was surprised when the team told the media the Cavs are concerned about his maturity. They don't want him to rush back, but they'll wait until they believe he is emotionally ready to return. Yes, emotionally ready. That is a perfect way to describe what Porter was dealing with. And when things weren't going his way on the court, he couldn't handle it. That injury in college was a setback, so so he reacted with a conduct issue. He fell in the draft and was behind Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, so he acted out. Then one day, he walked into the Cavs locker room and he saw that his locker had been given to someone else. What do you think happened? He went ballistic, screaming at his coach and his GM and even throwing food in the locker room. Reports immediately came out the Cavs were looking to trade the 20-year-old, but if they couldn't, they would cut him. And that is how he ended up in Houston for just 2 second-round picks that might not even convey, so basically nothing. Unlike some people, I do not think the Cavs messed up by trading KPJ for so little. I've seen Kendrick Perkins come down hard on the Cavs, plenty of blogs, but they did the right thing. This team is trying to build with young players. They already have Kevin Love to deal with. They could not poison that locker room, and they made a choice for their culture. That kind of decision is higher than basketball. Look, if Perk was slamming them the day before Porter dropped 50, that's one thing, but they were standing up for what they believed in, 50-piece or not. That is a good sign for this front office. However, that does not mean the Rockets made a bad decision. I am all for giving people a second chance. I actually needed a second chance. I was a total mess in high school, barely graduated, but luckily I was able to turn my life around after being kicked out of 2 colleges. That full story is for another video, but I am rooting for KPJ, not just as a basketball player, but as a person. That is why I was so disappointed to see this. Yep, that's Kevin Porter Jr. in the hoodie and Sterling Brown with blood all over him. They went to a strip club in Miami and Brown was hit with a bottle over the head outside. Obviously, they didn't mean for this to happen, but that is the risk you take when you're breaking NBA quarantine rules to go to a strip club. Now, I could make all sorts of jokes about Kevin Porter Jr. being the next James Harden with a 50-piece and a strip club, but at this point, it's not funny. He was fined $50K and suspended for that, but really, this proved that even after his first team gave up on him, Kevin Porter Jr. has not learned his lesson. He might be really talented, but there are a lot of amazing players who wasted their talent because of immaturity. Again, I'm not going to pretend to be some psychiatrist. I'm not saying that his dad's murder has anything to do with this, but I can say from my experience, you're a victim once, but after your second chance, the bad behavior is on you. So I don't feel bad for Kevin Porter Jr. if he strikes out in the NBA. At this point, it's only a matter of time before he messes up again and he's out of the league. It would be such a shame if that happens because Kevin Porter Jr.'s potential is unbelievable. One video that you guys have to watch, and it's really what everyone's afraid to say about Russell Westbrook, even though he's having a great end of this season.